Imagine waking up to headlines announcing the world's most powerful nation just became even more unstoppable. Not because of a new weapon, not because of a secret algorithm, but thanks to something quietly extracted from the silent gray surface of the moon, an element so rare on Earth, yet so abundant in the lunar dust, it could reshape the global balance of power for centuries. What if I told you this isn't science fiction? It's the real-life chess game now unfolding above our heads. And whoever wins could control the energy of tomorrow, the security of every nation, and perhaps even the secrets of every individual on Earth. Welcome to the new space race, a contest not just for flags and footprints, but for the most valuable substance humanity has ever pursued, lunar helium-3. In the last 2 years, a cascade of jaw-dropping reports have emerged from global space agencies and defense experts. China's lunar ambitions, once dismissed as symbolic, have started to look chillingly strategic and potentially game-changing. The Chang'e 6 mission made history by landing on the far side of the moon and returning with fresh, unspoiled samples. Robotics and mini-excavators are being prototyped, built not just for research or show, but for the hard work of digging, processing, and, if you believe some insiders, mining lunar resources on a massive scale. Let's rewind for a moment. Why the moon, and why now? The moon, to us, has always been a symbol, romance, mystery, conquest. But since the first Apollo landings, we've realized its true value runs much deeper. Beneath the regolith, the powdery dust and shattered rock, lies a bonanza of precious materials. Rare earth metals, vital for every smartphone or electric car on Earth, are scattered across its plains. But most tantalizing of all is helium-3. On Earth, helium-3 is vanishingly rare, maybe 15 kilograms across the entire planet, often locked away in old nuclear warheads or helium tanks. Yet on the moon, NASA estimates 1 million tons are waiting, quietly deposited by billions of years of solar wind. This isotope has a property that triggers a shiver of excitement among physicists and entrepreneurs. In theory, helium-3 can fuel nuclear fusion, not fission, the messy radioactive process behind current nuclear power, but fusion, the same reaction that powers the sun. Here's the kicker. If you could build a practical helium-3 fusion reactor, it could generate staggering amounts of clean electricity, no radioactive waste. If we were to mine the moon for helium-3, says retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General Stephen Quast, we could power the energy needs of the human race for thousands of years. Thousands of years. The world's energy wars, pollution crises, and even worries over climate change could be solved at a stroke by a few containers of moon dust. But that's only the headline. Here's where things get both more fascinating and more alarming. Helium-3 isn't just about energy, it's also about information. According to General Quast, whoever monopolizes helium-3 could unlock quantum computing's full potential. Quantum technology, still in its infancy, promises to shatter the world of cryptography, decoding any password, spying on encrypted secrets, and upending the global security order. But the catch? Quantum computers only work at unimaginably cold temperatures, close to absolute zero. Helium-3 is a powerful coolant. If China, or any country, controls the supply, they could be the first to operationalize true quantum supremacy. Suddenly, the race for a few kilograms of isotope becomes a struggle for absolute power. But is this just a paranoid fantasy, or is a new lunar gold rush already in motion? Let's chart the players. On one side, we have the United States. NASA's Artemis program, though ambitious, has faced repeated delays, shifting budgets, and public skepticism. Its goal, return astronauts to the lunar surface, establish a base at the South Pole, and begin leveraging the moon's resources, including, eventually, helium-3. On the other side, China. In a blizzard of government briefings, technical papers, and bold public announcements, Chinese officials have made their intent unmistakable. By 2030, they aim to land their own astronauts. The Chang'e 8 mission, slated for 2028, is set to lay the groundwork for a permanent, manned lunar base. China's partnership with Russia on the International Lunar Research Station is no sideshow. This is a direct challenge to Western dominance on and around the moon. And yet, so much is shrouded in secrecy. No footage has emerged of actual large-scale mining, and experts caution that extracting helium-3 is no small feat. Gary Lai, Chief Technology Officer of Seattle startup Interlune, says, "The high-rate excavation needed to harvest helium-3 from the moon in large quantities has never been attempted before, let alone with high efficiency." Their own prototype excavator, designed to process 100 metric tons of regolith per hour, is still in its early days. Even so, the race to scale up is on. But why is the process so tough? For starters, helium-3 is measured in parts per billion in lunar soil. To harvest a single kilogram, you'd need to mine and process hundreds of thousands of tons of powdery dust in an airless, radiation-blasted environment, using robots that don't yet exist at industrial scale. Then, extract the gas, freeze and compress it, and somehow ship it back to Earth safely and economically. It sounds like science fiction, but no one is laughing now. Meanwhile, laws and treaties lag far behind technology. The UN's Outer Space Treaty, signed in 1967, declares space the province of all mankind. But there's no clarity on property rights, profit sharing, or even who can build a mine. Japan's new Space Resources Act blurs the lines still further, declaring that water, minerals, and other natural resources can be freely appropriated. Imagine the chaos if two superpowers send rival mining robots to the same lunar crater. Who gets to keep the spoils? And let's not forget the economic stakes. A country controlling lunar helium-3 would not just supply the world's next energy revolution. It could dictate prices, set terms, and reshape global alliances. Energy superpowers of today, Russia, Saudi Arabia, even the US, could suddenly find themselves sidelined by whoever leads the moon race. The next OPEC could meet in orbit, not Vienna. The titanic amounts of money involved are simply staggering. Jaco van Loon, a respected astrophysicist, puts it bluntly: Chinese plans are feasible and relatively low risk, unlike the unorthodox manner in which the Artemis program has been designed. Meanwhile, Lin Shiqiang of the China Manned Space Agency concedes, the subsequent development and testing of the task is arduous, technically complex, the schedule is tense, and the challenges are enormous. But it's not just about two superpowers. Private companies, too, are entering the fray. Interlune's excavator, entrepreneurs in Japan and Europe, even small island nations have signed on as partners in lunar exploration, hoping to stake a claim for their future generations. Everyone wants a slice of the lunar pie. Yet beneath all the headlines and diplomatic statements, a deadly serious question looms. What happens if one nation gets there first? What if China, leveraging its breakneck pace and tightly coordinated state apparatus, lands, builds, and starts mining helium-3 at scale before anyone else? Would they share, sell, or simply hoard their newfound power? And what of national security? General Quast's warning is chilling. If America does not change our strategy and how we're investing in space, we will become victims to others that use space as a way of dominating the energy market, but also the information market. With quantum computers cooled by helium-3, adversaries could rip through the encryption that protects bank accounts, military secrets, and private lives. The phrase "crack any code" is not an overstatement. Are the world's digital locks about to be rendered useless? Skeptics argue there's no solid proof of Chinese helium-3 mining, yet. Official Chinese statements focus on sample returns and testing. But the rapid progress, the Chang'e 6 mission's flawless landing, the prototype machines, the construction blueprints, suggest far more is happening behind closed doors than the public is told. Now, as 2028 and 2030 approach, the timeline is short and the stakes are sky high. Will international law keep up? Will the Artemis program's delays cost the U.S. its chance? Or are we on the brink of a new Cold War, one where the fate of energy, security, and even privacy itself is decided not on Wall Street, but in the dusty, airless plains of the lunar South Pole? Because if China succeeds in mining, securing, and leveraging helium-3 before the rest of the world, the balance of power may never be the same again. And as the first excavators lurch to life in lunar darkness, one question now echoes louder than ever. Who will truly own the moon's future, and what are they willing to risk for it? Imagine this. It's the early 2030s. The horizon above the moon is dotted not just with craters, but with glinting domes, buzzing robot convoys, and antennae bristling with data flowing back to Earth. In command are a handful of nations, and perhaps a few bold private companies, all racing toward the same elusive prize, helium-3. What happens if one country like China pulls far ahead? Let's walk through the scenarios. First, the helium curtain. China leverages its early lunar infrastructure, using Chang'e 8 and later robotic mining fleets to hoard thousands, then tens of thousands, of kilograms of helium-3. This isotope isn't just a miracle fuel. It becomes the DNA of a new era, one where whoever holds it can create near-limitless clean energy and, far more chilling, run quantum computers that can break any code, spy on any rival, and dictate terms of technology for a generation or more. General Stephen Quast's warning echoes louder. They see every secret, every code, everything. Imagine the economic aftershocks. Nations dependent on fossil fuels, or even uranium, confront an impossible new energy standard. Infrastructure built over a century is suddenly obsolete. Alliances shift. The world races to catch up, but technical and legal obstacles make playing catch-up painfully slow. Second, the Great Lunar Standoff. The US, ESA, India, Japan, and even startup nations like the UAE pool resources, launching cooperative Artemis-style missions to guard against monopoly. The moon becomes laced with overlapping claims, hastily built international science outposts, and legal disputes. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty, written for an era of flags and footprints, strains to keep pace with the new gold rush. Diplomats scramble to avoid Cold War-style standoffs. On the lunar surface, a mistake could trigger an international incident, or worse. In this tense climate, the moon's resources become both a catalyst for unity and a flashpoint for rivalry. Think about it. One lunar mining robot strays over a regolith boundary. An orbital asset is jammed or sabotaged. Does it spiral into a new kind of space warfare? Or, in a more optimistic timeline, does crisis spark the birth of an Apollo-style collaboration, as governments realize the stakes are simply too enormous for brinkmanship? There's a third path that no one talks about enough, the wild card. Private companies, maybe from Seattle, maybe from Shanghai, maybe from somewhere unexpected, race ahead with breakthrough technologies. Interlune's prototype excavator, swallowing 100 tons of regolith an hour, proves the principle. The barriers to entry fall, and a true lunar boom is underway, led as much by entrepreneurs as by governments. Suddenly, the moon isn't just a military or diplomatic chessboard. It's the Silicon Valley of the 2030s, raw and lawless, where fortunes and futures are built or lost at escape velocity. But the risks in this wildcard scenario are immense. Without clear rules, we face environmental disaster on the moon's fragile surface, pitched battles over landing sites, debris fields that make access dangerous for everyone, and possible sabotage, both corporate and national. The possibility of a cyber attack on a lunar mining bot or even a lunar energy facility is not science fiction. What about the legal side? Right now, the Outer Space Treaty says that no nation can appropriate territory on the moon. But harvesting resources? That's a gray area. The US, Luxembourg, Japan, and even the United Arab Emirates have passed laws or bills granting companies the right to profit from what they extract. China operates under a more state-centric system, but the effect is the same. Whoever can get there first and mine efficiently could, in practice, control the supply chain. In the words of the Space Generation Advisory Council, any lunar governance regime should be based on fairness, effectiveness, adaptiveness, and sustainability. But will the actors in this unfolding drama abide by those ideals, or will the lunar resource rush trample them in pursuit of advantage? Now zoom back to the present. What are the practical implications for us, ordinary people watching from Earth? Is this just a high-stakes political chess game, or does it really affect our daily lives? Here's the big takeaway. Helium-3, if harnessed, could rewrite the rules of energy. No more blackouts, no radioactive fusion waste, no reliance on unstable nations for oil or gas. Imagine powering entire cities, data centers, and even spacecraft cleanly and abundantly. Energy prices could fall dramatically, or stay high if controlled by a cartel of lunar miners. The economic possibilities are staggering. But it's also about security, privacy, and technological sovereignty. Quantum computing, supercharged by helium-3, means old encryption, and even the concept of secure personal data could vanish. Imagine a world where nothing, no military plan, no bank account, no private communication, is truly secret. Companies, governments, and individuals may need to reinvent cybersecurity or develop totally new ways of concealing information. The lesson? Space has always driven change on Earth. Think of how GPS, satellite weather, and even simple tech like freeze-dried food transformed our world. Now the next leap may come from the lunar mines. So what can you do with all this? First, stay informed. Understanding lunar geopolitics isn't just for policy wonks anymore. If you work in tech, energy, cybersecurity, or even just care about the next big investment trend, keep an eye on developments in lunar mining and fusion energy. Second, think globally. The problems and opportunities on the moon will force new kinds of international cooperation. Our current laws, treaties, and business models aren't ready for this. If you're a student, entrepreneur, or policymaker, look for ways to advocate for fair, sustainable, and innovative lunar governance. Maybe the world's next big startup isn't building phone apps. It's figuring out how to extract, process, or secure the moon's bounty. Third, prepare for the unforeseen. New technology always brings unintended consequences. As General Quast warned, space is the place where if America does not change our strategy and how we're investing in space, we will become victims to others that use space as a way of dominating the energy market, but also the information market. So, what's the answer to our opening question? Will China's lunar ambitions spark cooperation, chaos, or a new technological superpower era? We're on the knife's edge. If world leaders, scientists, and even the public recognize that domination by a single nation, any nation, could imperil everyone, we might rally behind new treaties, robust lunar policing, and transparent data sharing. Maybe the moon becomes a place where humanity's best side shines, a new Apollo moment for the planet. But if greed, secrecy, or competition drive policy, we could see a lunar Cold War, with the first shots fired not by rocket or rover but by code, the hacking of a quantum computer cooled by moon-mined helium-3. The secret fact few realize? The first real battles for lunar dominance may not look like science fiction. They may start quietly, with strings of code, in secure rooms on Earth, as hackers and AI compete to breach the new quantum cryptography. The era of lunar cyber warfare may come before the first true moon city is built. In the end, the outcome is up to us, and it's starting right now. The next few years will set the stage for 10,000 to come. The decisions made in distant government chambers or startup accelerators could shape who controls the keys to energy, data, and power not just on Earth, but on the moon and beyond. So, what do you think? Will lunar mining bring a golden age or a new arms race in space? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for deep dives into the future of technology, space, and power. And remember, the biggest revolution